Well, good morning, I should say. It's Tuesday, December 16th, and it's 8 o'clock, and I call the SELCO meeting to order. Review and consider approval of the November 2025 bill schedule and warrants. Are there any comments, questions, or feedback on the schedule and the warrants, I should say?
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. We have a review and consider approval of the meeting minutes of November 18th, 2025. Any comments, corrections, additions to that? Not hearing any. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes of November 18th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Amazingly enough, we have the schedule of the next
Just the
meeting,
only one.
which is scheduled for Tuesday, January 27th, 2026, at 0800 here in the Select Board meeting. Do we have any corrections to that? That's something we had previously agreed to in the year, but time changes and one never knows. So, right now, the 27th, that looks good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we'll just leave that at that. That's when we'll call for the next meeting. The next thing we'll move into is the general manager's highlights.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so this month's edition, I threw in some articles here just to highlight some of the energy cost environment that we're heading into, just into the winter. No surprise, energy costs go up in the winter. So I just wanted to throw on some of the, the most recent article in here. This happens to be gas bills, but I tend to throw in gas bills just because there is a tangential relationship too with gas generation that we purchase. But you can see here some other rate hikes for that. Using their terminology, goes from $33 to $103 a month for an average customer bill. And so, that's a general theme throughout a number of these articles. The second one there I threw in because I think it's important to highlight, points of analysis. So I think as I run into folks on the street, a lot of folks don't realize there's an energy portion of the bill and a delivery portion, and I think we're starting to see more analysis on the delivery portion, which is that second article issued there by the Boston Globe. We compare very favorably, so I like to highlight some of that, so then folks go and look and they see, oh, SELCO's delivery charges add up to a little bit north of 7 cents versus the IOU utilities are anywhere from 20 to 22 cents. I mean, just in delivery charges alone.
So I just want to point out, maybe for anyone listening, when you compare, I love that when you go to the SELCO website, there's a comparison of the rates or the average bill, I think it is. And that's not by accident. I mean, it's a hallmark of the value of SELCO and the effort. And it didn't come by accident, I will say. Having lived in this world for 10 years, the advocacy for municipal power is strong. And I will say SELCO and Representative Kane has done a fantastic job of lobbying to show the progress being made on public policy for, decarbonization and other things while being able to do it our way and keep rates down. Because I laugh a little that folks are just, it's the public is just realizing what I think a lot of folks have known was coming down the road for a solid decade.
Right.
Both between the price of gas and the cost of policy decisions we made 5-10 years ago. They're just now coming to roost, and the cost of all of this stuff is really and the major IOUs in the state, right? Eversource, National Grid, Unitil. And the efforts that were made today, but over the last 10 years by MWEC and I know Chris has played a big role in that, has been what has sort of kept us out from underneath all of those, those expenses. The natural gas, we're still sort of affected by those policies, but certainly a lot of the other public policies and expenses that have come with that were due to the efforts of a lot of folks working really hard to maintain that ability of autonomy, I guess, in decision-making. So I just wanted to make note of that because I think that gets lost in the conversation a lot.
Yeah.
It wasn't really by accident here. A lot of hard work, so.
Yeah.
Kudos to Chris and Rep. Kane and the other representatives that represent municipal light communities.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think, no, that's sums it up really well.
You gotta keep the pressure on them.
Yeah, you gotta keep the pressure on them. They wanna keep every year there's a bill to
Yep.
suck us in, and we gotta keep that.
And you look at it, just a 1-2 second addition to your point, as an engineer by degree, I like to look at data points, and you look at Massachusetts, we have 41 examples of what you described. So it's not like oh, here's this one-off example. There's not 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or even 20. There's 41 examples of how this business model delivers electricity to the end user in a more efficient and superior fashion. More reliability, tailored to the local community. I mean, it speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that. Not to belabor that point, I threw in another article about gas heating. I will put a bit of a shameless plug in here. We don't have a gas system under our municipal light plant. So the folks in Shrewsbury are being served by these private gas companies that are in these articles raising rates from $33 to $103. Not that particular company, but the same theme. So here we're positioned very well for electrification, where you convert your heating systems or your vehicles to the rates and reliability that we offer, and that is a distinct advantage over the more broad articles you might read in the Globe or others. And so, we're a really good case study to help aid in that transition. So with that being said, I'd like to throw in some technological news. These ion air batteries caught my eye. As we're at the cusp of implementing some battery storage in Shrewsbury, working through some opportunities that are on our doorstep. This is also kind of something I've been looking at as a longer duration technology and development of having storage that could provide a larger role during outages or backup that's measured perhaps more in days than hours. So I threw that article in there. We don't have any of those opportunities in front of us now, but just something
Coming down the road.
is coming down the road. And then, not to go through all of these, I thought this was interesting, just as a policymaking note. Up in Maine, they have a bill for this refundable income tax credit for ratepayers. And so, I think that was an interesting read only because you're starting to see, for some of the prior comments made, I try and keep my eye on the intermingling of tax revenue and ratepayer revenue. And so here you're starting to see if you're running out of ideas on how to lower electricity rates, which in Maine are provided in large part, except for a few municipal utilities, provided by private utilities. Now they're starting to look at ways to have taxes supplement that. So
Isn't that just an accounting move that shifts the burden of cost? Essentially what that is.
and so
I don't know how you implement that.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
Like bringing the tax system into.
Yeah,
all
that's a
these other-
slippery slope.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's
Yeah.
not, it's the same thing like the healthcare for the Massachusetts, right? Like it becomes a tax burden. It's like,
yep.
it's not the right place for it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, just
Okay.
something, I thought you might find interesting. Battery
That
storage.
to our attention.
Oh, I know, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the batteries, and just an interesting article about, battery storage development up in Tewksbury. I mean, this one is 125 megawatts, which is a pretty serious battery. But that's interesting. I like to keep an eye on, how the public reacts to these storage projects being developed.
How's the one in Sterling doing?
Sterling is great. The existing one?
No, aren't they putting one in? Are they giving?
The new one.
The battery storage?
Well,
Sterling?
Oh, no.
Heck, what was-
they have,
I thought I read something
Geez,
in
they
the
have
paper, they
one-
were giving people.
I start to get them mixed up too
Yeah.
with data centers.
Yeah, I have
but,
too, yeah.
I'm not familiar with that one, but their Sterling's own is working great. And then I do it by dates as opposed to topic, but I like to throw in the ISO update on wholesale power prices. So you can see in there, we're up 17% compared to the previous year and up 12% from the prior October, which is when the information is released. So just to kind of paint the picture for things to come. And the other one I'll just call attention to is the transmission line. The New England Clean Energy Connect project is either this week or next week perhaps being energized. So that's a really big, I think, win in terms of bringing in Canadian hydropower into this region to help alleviate some of the congestion that we have. So
That was my baby.
perhaps influencing also its addition to it. But I thought that was kind of a neat, just a neat article that I thought almost kind of came in under the radar a little bit after all the controversy surrounding it. But yeah, so that'll be in the mix as in the very near future. So that really covers it. I didn't want to spend too much time. Shifting gears.
Just a quick question. Sorry, just how do you farm your news? They're always great articles, and I pay attention. And I seem to miss some. I'm just curious.
Geez, that's
What your technique is.
Secret sauce.
the secret sauce for the TV. So yeah.
We can do that in executive.
No. No. It's from a variety of sources.
I'll say no more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I aggregate my.
Yeah, consult the attorney across the table.
Yes.
Diagonally across.
But yeah, I don't know. I got a bunch of different sources, and
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I don't know. I enjoy trying to keep pace with what's going on out there. Okay, human resources. Now we turn our attention much more locally. We had an engineering technician start. I don't see her here. That's totally fine.
We introduced her last meeting.
Oh, yes,
She
that's
was-
right.
She
She
was
was
sitting
here.
in the audience her first
That's
day.
right.
So
So this is her formal announcement.
Yep.
And
she
then
stayed with us.
yes, yes,
she's still
she's
here.
made it a month. And then Christian started as the broadband sysadmin. He's up at Parker Road. That's a great addition to help bolster our support network for our internet services, in addition to all the other services that build off of the internet. But the sysadmin is a key role to keep all that back end working. Then we had Jeff Proctor and John Bishop were promoted to lean line workers. They've been great. They came through as apprentices, went through the school. They're doing a great job, and so this is just a testament to their hard work that they're progressing through the ranks. So great job to them. We have an apprentice line worker recruitment underway. I believe the hope is to hire 2. So that would be, again, to the prior point, keep that pipeline going. And so if you know anyone, point them to that posting. And then we're doing employee evaluations at the end of, as part of our annual review process. So then, just on a few other noteworthy topics, we did mail the stream rate adjustment letters, and with some slight revised channel lineups. There's a hyperlink there to go through the particulars. I know CSRs have been fielding, not a significant number of calls, but a steady stream of questions regarding the stream adjustment. The timing wasn't great. We've continued ongoing discussions with our service provider on that and that last interruption we had. So those went out as an update on there. And then Share the Warmth. I know I have been signing some letters for Share the Warmth, so that's great. I really enjoy doing that and appreciate when the donations come in. So we've had those donations. You can see over $2,000 have been donated since mid-November, so call it roughly over a month, so that's great. And then we don't have the results for this meeting, but we have the SELCO Stream customer survey was concluded with 500 responses, which is a pretty good response rate. And so we're targeting next month's meeting to go through those. And then our holiday gathering, we announced that Robin Patel is this year's Lutz Award winner. Robin is a perennial front runner for that award, so it was nice that she received that this year. The other one, so moving on to our integrated resources. One of the articles I did skip in the prior section kind of addressed wind. I just wanted to spend a minute to mention that we indicated our support, participation in the MWIC procurement of Stetson Wind of Maine. That is a 4-year arrangement. The pricing was very competitive. And it comes bundled with REX, so it hits all of those check boxes with our power supply policy. It was a great deal. So that
Where are these located?
these are, I believe there's
Not in the water, are they?
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 6 or 7 different wind farms in Maine. Those are outlined in the PPA. But in aggregate, it was a really great deal. And you see 10,000 megawatt hours that fit in the portfolio. Not to go down too much detail on our power supply. We have our hedging strategy, and so we look at how these opportunities fit into how much of our energy is hedged at any given time, and this fit in very nicely, and we'll start right up first quarter next year.
Just a quick question, relative to the RECs, is the intent to sort of stay aligned to the requirements of the IOUs? Like how they need a certain percentage over time. What's our goal with that?
Yep, great question. So, perhaps just to summarize for general audience too. So we have our power supply policy. In that policy, it is loose. I shouldn't say loosely. It complies with the municipal light plant GGES, the greenhouse gas emission standard, which again, that standard was based on the IOU framework a bit, but tailored for MLPs. We took that a step further and tailored it for SELCO, and so we have more flexibility with the REC assignments. So that's where looking at these, we largely just compare it to SELCO's power supply policy because we know it will meet our goals, and our goals already achieve all the other standards out there. But to your point, we, and I we'll just put a note out there that I think policy-wise, ours is more robust. We have the ability to use the main hydro recs a little bit more than the IOUs. I think it has, that type of flexibility. So in doing so, we've already accomplished our statutory goals, but then we have our, Shrewsbury goals on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, this fit right in, so, this was your proverbial no-brainer to participate. And then, just on the operational front, we have just shy of 14,000 AMI meters deployed, so that's 85%. They're plugging away. I did want to touch on the peaking plan a bit.
Been cranking.
That's,
5 locomotives going at it.
it's, so, I mean, I actually don't have any articles on here to compare our, how cold it's been compared to average, but it's seemingly, to me anyway, a bit colder than it's been.
Oh, it is.
We've seen a lot more calls for run time, so our peaking plant is called to action when there's strain on the grid. And so, as you can see, as you mentioned, it's been running a lot more than it has in recent history. That's an indication of more strain on the grid, hence a colder winter. And so, we've seen, some social media posts on that. We had a couple of
Bad,
calls.
good, whatever.
Well, I think part of the
Noise.
thing is
Yeah.
it's noise. The people are not aware that, if they're not aware, down by Home Depot,
Yeah.
we have 5 diesel generators, which are basically locomotive engines, I guess, but
Yeah,
that can be called. We SELCO are not the ones that turn it on.
Right.
Okay, we basically rent those back or license them back to the grid, ISO New England, right? They're the ones that'll actually kick them on. And I think they also do the same thing with our gas turbine as well.
Yeah,
Peaking.
Emwick will do that.
Emwick does that one. So, but anyways, bottom line is they're called for when there's a peak requirement. And because the temperatures are up, they're running. And a lot of people that are new to the area may not be familiar with it. Most people that have grown up in Shrewsbury or whatever, know that the hum that comes on. It's just like the people complaining right now about train whistles down in Grafton and whatnot. It's, if they haven't lived in the area for a while and not aware of the safety and whatever that's going on.
Yeah.
Just like with us, the noise of the generators there is really a comfort to me, in that way I know that the grid and there's no brownouts as continued power, and we're supporting
Good way to look
the
at it.
electric grid due to the high demand in the summer, because of the temperature, high temperature for air conditioning, and in the winter obviously for heating and whatnot. So
Normally, how often does it run? Normally, I know this year.
Oh, normally, I have a table on that, but
5, 6
you-
times.
per month, you're talking, we usually measure it in hours, but,
Oh, yeah.
it might be called on, like you said, once a week,
Yeah.
something like that. It's not linear, right,
Right.
if you have a cold snap.
Right,
it'll be
right,
more, but-
sure.
But yeah, it's, we've had to refuel several times, as a.
Sure.
Is it underground? I was kind of poking around there the other day when I went to Home Depot. Like, I didn't go in.
Oh, the
but I was,
tanks?
looking around. Yeah, where are the
fuel
tanks?
tanks are buried, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And we
I'm
just-
looking around, I'm like,
and we
where's
just-
the
and we
fuel
just
for-
recently restored them all,
gonna
so if
say, we
anybody
had-
has any questions on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to go and redo all that.
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah,
Change all the controls.
they're maintained, oh, yeah, they're inspected regularly. We just, had a unit out of service, for a full maintenance session this past fall. So it's, they're.
I had someone shopping by
they're
Home
an
Depot
exercise.
once and saw smoke coming and said, oh, we're polluting the area. They had to do all kinds of tests for that. And keeping those up to date. There's no doubt
Yep,
about it.
there's emission standards that
How
have
old are those
progressed.
diesels? Yep.
They're from roughly 1975,
Yes, they've been around a long
76.
time. Right.
I think the last one might be 1979, that roughly those few years. So,
And I would imagine over the next coming months, there might be some unexpected revenues we see from
Offsets, I think.
Offsets?
Our spend.
based on fuel costs and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a big moneymaker for us?
We don't get a physical check-in, they just net it, and I couldn't tell you exactly because those bills are so
Yeah.
so
it's-
big.
Yeah. Although every time I hear it, I look at the price map and I'm like, ooh, all right.
No, it's-
Some money,
yeah. Plus this year was a big maintenance year too, so
Yeah.
there's additional costs. But yeah, so that's
That's our story on
That's the story on that. And then, yep, we got one more final approval from fire on the solar across the parking lot. So we have one final inspection, and then we can flip the switch on the solar array on the Shrewsbury PD roof.
Now, is that the roof and the shed, the car shed, or is it just the roof?
Yeah, did we put those on the carport, right? Yeah. There were some, as part of the inspection, we did have, make adjustments to some of the panels, but the ones on the carports did remain. And then, I usually, in the interest of time, don't go through each of the actual neighborhoods that we're in, but for reference, if you've seen a crew out there, those are the generally areas that they're working on and the reasons that we're out there. A lot of work, just to speak more generally on some of these, with all of the projects going on. So we maintain our own internal capital work schedule, but then for any customer work that comes up, we prioritize that. With limited crews, you have to pick and choose. It's not quite, can't do it all at the same time. So there's a combination in here of work to support new development, as well as work to support some of our bread and butter projects, largely being the 4 kV conversion up to the 13.8 higher voltage. So those are the two things that generally you'll see the crews working on. Switching to the broadband, progress continues. We got fiber node 26. You can see the neighborhood there, Howe Ave, Topsfield area, map included. And we have increased homes passed from 9,000 to just shy of 12,000. So that's, we're well on our way. Those numbers do slow down a bit with our current construction, only because we're into the multi-dwelling units. So it's not like you're passing a whole bunch of homes. You're trying to get fiber inside of an existing building complex, which is a slower, more complicated work when you're inside the building. But we've made progress also on the fiber connected homes, growing from 5,700 to 8,800. So we're plugging away. Those guys are doing a great job, and we're chipping away. And then just not to skim over the IT. That's just what we're working on internally to support SELCO and town IT systems, and the tables that just show our metrics for anyone interested. But our IT folks are doing a great job. And
Yeah, good.
those are the.
I was glad to see the cybersecurity training is ongoing.
Oh, we have this. Yep. Cybersecurity training. We had on that topic, just to build on that point, they did do, several months ago, I forget the exact date, but we did, probably better I don't mention it either, but we did phishing tests. We did penetration testing, just to make sure, to expose any network vulnerabilities that we could address. So the team's actively, nothing crazy, so just put that out there. But there's always something that, a new patch or, a more modern server. So they're taking the results from that and making sure we are up to top standards.
Good. Looks like it's pretty much
But that's what we got.
getting there.
But yeah, phishing test is a big one. I feel like I think there's articles out there showing that's probably your biggest vulnerability, or the people using the system, as opposed to, the system themselves.
We actually run those, we'll do them monthly,
Mid-monthly.
but those occasionally go out.
So, yeah, any strange emails, I just default to delete.
Yeah, right.
You know?
I didn't get any of that done, Chris, sorry.
Just don't check.
Who's
my
C.
email.
Roy?
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, yeah, so, I'm
Great.
happy to answer any questions. I
No.
think that's this
And
month's
any of the
update.
board members have any questions or anything going on, or? I think for just general, for holiday, I think we're cycle for we're gonna match up with the town
Oh,
for the Christmas
yep, good point. We'll be here Christmas Eve, but we're sending out notifications. The office will be closed the day after Christmas, so 12/26, Friday. And so that'll, the most visible impact is obviously Town Hall. But our crews are on 410s too, so we have coverage on off Fridays anyway. So we're, it's minimal
You
operational.
can still call the help
impact.
desk and
Yeah.
get help if that's
Yeah.
what's needed. But we match up with what the town schedule is, that they're the same thing. They're gonna work Christmas Eve, take Christmas Day off, take the day after Christmas off. So we're all in cahoots on that, and the town hall is,
They can close, we can secure it.
got it going.
How about after New Year's, nothing there?
Yeah, we haven't started that discussion yet. See what the town's gonna do too. Okay, with that said, no other questions on that, then we'll move to the next topic, which is the building project update. Do you want to introduce what we've been doing
Sure.
there?
We'll have our highly qualified project manager here, Evan.
Not qualified.
Trustee,
Not
his
just
trusty
qualified.
sidekick, Jim Zacco.
All right, so Evan Sires, I'm project engineer with SELCO and acting as project manager for the building effort.
Jim Zacco, Director of Finance. He'll do all the talking.
And just as also part of the building team, Taryn Maddox has been helping us out, procurement agent.
Yep.
So just to remind you of where we left things in October when we last talked about this, we're at the feasibility study stage, which we have a designer on board, an architecture firm, and it's sort of the first step in a public building procurement is to look at the feasibility, get some high-level cost numbers, define the program, what we are trying to get out of the building, and summarize that in a report. And then if we're to proceed after we get the results of the feasibility study, the next step would be schematic design, design development, and then construction package. So first in many steps, that's all, a lot of this is dictated by Massachusetts general law. We're just following what any town entity has to do to get a building. We were already, in October, we were starting to wrap up the feasibility study. That's taken until now. We're this week expecting to get the final polished draft after we made some comments to the architect. We got a high-level cost estimate back, and based on that, we had some discussions about where we could save some costs. Wasn't astronomically high, but just to keep it in our budget, we identified a couple of areas that we thought would be good to talk about at this early stage of the process to make sure it was the scope of the project was comfortable for where we're expecting the budget to be. So I was just going to show you the three big areas we talked about. So the first thing was simplifying the site. So in a previous iteration, we were using more depth of the site, so trying to use a lot more of the this sort of diagram up here faces, so north is to the left, so like
Right to your left of the screen.
North Quinsiga's to the bottom, and the rowing center is across that street.
right. So USPS, the big postal facility, is off to the
top.
you know,
North.
the top, yeah, up where the cursor is. So originally we were thinking about having some of the warehouse garage buildings more to the east of the site towards the USPS. But there are some challenging grade issues. It was a former gravel pit, so there's, you know, almost 40 feet of elevation change between this ridge that runs on the site and the lowest points. So site work was showing up as a potential really big cost, and it's also a cost that comes with a lot of, it's a risky thing, since you don't know how much difficulty you're gonna have paving and leveling out the site until you get and start digging things up and doing geotechnical work. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, your flow is great, so
Oh.
I just want to add one before you keep going. But one of the things that's struck me, you know, to Evan's point about the grading of the site, is those mounds. It must have been one large site when it was a gravel pit, or under similar ownership, because those mounds spill onto the postal service site. So if you're trying to level out one portion of the mound, we don't have control over the other half of the mounds. Hence
Right.
the need for all these retaining walls and other more challenging equals more costly, you know, site considerations. So I'm sure that's where you're.
Yeah, which is where I was heading. So by moving all of the structures, you know, away from the back of the site, we expect to be able to save a lot of work with leveling out the site, having retaining walls, which are a very expensive thing, which we're sort of learning this as we go. Like, you know, to me, I thought that would have been easy, but apparently it's a huge cost. Simplifying that design a little bit, trying to work with what we have in terms of a challenging topographical site. So that's something that we're expecting to, save significant amounts. Just, a simpler site. Also limiting the amount of asphalt, that's another big cost, is just the more you're paving of the site. That was showing up as a large budget item, so this design cuts back on that. Really just has, a small yard, allows the trucks to get in and out of the garage, has some parking in the back, nothing superfluous with the paving going on in this design.
Sorry, one.
Anything we forgot? Yeah, go ahead.
You'll see, and I don't, if you're going to cover this, I'll defer to you. You'll see in this, it might be harder to see on screen, but to the north, you'll see some dotted lines with, outlining some rectangular options.
Yeah.
One of the goals of this project is to be durable over the next 50, 100 years, similar to what we've seen through our existing facilities. And so what we've seen outlined there are potential for expansion for generations from now, right? So we leave it in a situation where someone 50 years from now and says, oh, geez, SELCO's or Shrewsbury's population has tripled. We need more inventory. Well, there's where you'd stick another warehouse. So the idea is to not just plan for today, but also plan
You're
for
talking
tomorrow.
that top left corner?
That top left, it's.
So it's east, actually, just to.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you said north.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
See, I do that in my head. Usually I filter it out. But yes, east.
East.
But yes, top of screen. And so anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Is the idea of to have the site does offer that flexibility. And yes, the downside is to what Evan was just saying. Whoever would tackle that expansion in the future would also have to potentially deal with that terrain. But it can't be perfect.
What's the relative grade change from North Quincy to like that back parking lot? Do you get into, because it's a little hilly over there, right?
I can't. What is the USPS lot line at? I know it's 395 at.
It's
the
395,
road.
I believe, up to 420 or
420 at the back.
422, something like that. So you're talking 30 to 35 feet from your low point. It goes, there's definitely this could be wrong, but I'm envisioning, I'm picturing pushing of dirt piles because you'll see mounds or a berm, and then it'll be flat for a good chunk of it, and then you'll have a mound. but definitely that biggest mound is on the east or top of screen side. And so by pushing the development closer to the road, you avoid all the site work that would be required to adapt to that.
It's a very uneven site. There's like a ridge that sort of runs like sort of where that pink building is, and it's, you know, very high and steep, and then it's like on the sides it drops off. It's totally unnatural. Like
Yeah,
it's
like a construction
But
site.
it's all movable, there's no ledge or anything, right? It's-
we
Not that we
won't
know of.
know that until they go out and do geotech work, which we've held off on for now, just to try to deal with feasibility. And then, you know, once we're have the go ahead, then that's sort of one of the next steps, is to get people out there to start, you know, looking at what foundations are needed and gather some more information about the site.
How many floors is the office space?
Right now, to fit in the footprint, that would be 3.
3 floors?
And just one thing for everybody to know, when you're going through this type of project, there's multiple constraints from a bunch of different areas. So there's our program, our needs, right? Then there's the whole lot itself, what it can handle. There's, you know, all the town, state, all those requirements. And we're kind of just putting all that together and figuring out what's the best fit to make sure, is this piece of land feasible? And that's what we're coming to terms with, is these are the different options for feasibility. And to Evan's point, the next stages will really be the schematic design, where you go in and you fine tune everything. So everything you're seeing today is still subject to change based on what we're learning and all cost, you know, considerations and all those type of things. So even to Chris's point about future expansion, if we find, hey, if we do this a little bit over here now, we might be able to do something to set ourselves up better for the future. And one of the things that we are really taking into consideration as well is the cheapest we're ever going to be able to do something is now. So we want to do the most affordable project, but that has the best value for the future of SELCO in perpetuity.
We also have a letter out, right, to the federal government or to the postal service about potentially taking, to the left of that photo is taking that driveway out onto their access road, so that there'd be one less penetration out to.
Correct.
Yes, we've reached out to them on that, and this landscape design has a few options for connecting roads, different places, and to echo Jim's point, this is, I meant to disclaim, this is very preliminary. That this probably will continue to change. It's already changed a lot. You know, we're learning things as we deal with those constraints that Jim was talking about. So this is by no means, you know, the final product. It's, you know, it's where we are as of today, and we think, you know, we've made good progress to get here, and we'll continue to refine, things like driveways and things of that nature.
If I may add another point, you know what, this will segue into your next slide.
Yep.
Is, you know, one of these value engineering efforts is, you'll see, in this case, you know, with the disclaimer in full swing being, you know, changes abound. That north side, that's back parking. So we were talking about the PD earlier. The idea is to do, rather than have a fully enclosed garage, you know, we have a lot of light-duty vehicles, many of which are electric, so that backside puts those into more of a carport style, like the police station, as opposed to a garage style. So that's one of the things we had looked at is, you know, especially with EVs, where, you know, you plug them in and they just are, you know, not necessarily charging, but connected to the grid. You know, it's they can self-defrost through the night and things like that. So, you know, that's a just, you'll see on the north side there. You know, the idea is to right-size this to house our bucket trucks and cable trucks and that type of thing, but at the same time provide that coverage and that adaptability for what the fleet will look like moving into the future.
Unless there's anything else on the site.
that's
Jump. Oh, yep. So the next topic of discussion we went through with the designers and our OPM was on the garage and warehouse, which are two really important aspects of our facility. And as we learned from the cost estimate we got back, pretty significant cost drivers. These are high square footage buildings, which, yeah, a lot of steel, a lot of cost. We basically just we're looking for ways to put this part of the program, limit costs and pre-engineer mental buildings where I think Chris had been exposed to them in the past and brought it up and did some research. We enlisted our OPM to do some outreach to actual manufacturers to get some quotes to understand what they're able to offer and what we would still need to budget for in our overall design. And we're I think all pretty hopeful that this is going to be a path that simplifies the project, de-risks it, saves a lot of money, giving up any frills for these buildings. I think we're looking for really basic needs for both the garage and warehouse, especially compared to what we have over at service area today. Just having a space that's large enough to fit our vehicles, having a warehouse that we can lay out in a way we want to, and I guess organize and have the security we need. These are all things we can do within the scope of a really simple building. It's engineered to meet the wind loads and code requirements that exist for any building. Is there any other part of the story?
I was just going to add, I'll have to, speaking for myself, this is my favorite part of the project so far, because in order to look at these value engineering opportunities, we actually solicited quotes. So like where the building, it's cost projections, they have cost estimators, but you don't really know until you issue the bid and you see how the bids come back. In this case, we got our costs from actually reaching out to these the pre-engineered suppliers. We received turnkey costs. There's still site work like we talked about on the prior slides, but this, at least I feel very confident that these are actual market-based numbers.
And they're available, there's no backlog on the.
They're available. In fact,
We can get them now.
Yeah, one quote we got. One was from Worcester. They're all similar. There's some of these are local companies. One said they had an order canceled. There's a exact one we're looking for on the assembly line right now. We're not quite at that point, but
And even pick out the interior and the,
yeah. But yes, so that's the long answer to your question. They are available. This is, I feel quite comfortable with, where this portion of the project would land, because those are actual real numbers.
To add what Chris is saying too, is these would give us the operational logistics that we're looking for. And when you look at the cost savings, like if I was to give them exactly what I wanted for, the next 100 years specified, whatnot, you're looking at, and I'm giving a rough number, but $30 million. And we were just kind of like, wait, what, for everything we'd want for just these two buildings? Like, that's astronomical cost to us. And this would be a much bigger savings and put us into a realistic budget for the entire building and site.
And I think, Chris, just to echo your point, which I think is a great one, it accomplishes grounding this project in the real world. It's this construction sphere we're learning. It's very frustrating for us because it's so hard to get good comparison numbers for public buildings, because there are so few of them, and there's, with prevailing wage and all these layers of costs, it's kind of hard to, get real about what something should cost. And this is an aspect of the project we can look at and be like, okay, like this is a market rate. These are firms that are transparent with their costs, and it helps give us some assurance that we're, doing our due diligence to, deliver this at least cost, if we, proceed to that point. Anything else on I think that's the pre-engineered rental buildings. So the last one, Olivia. So the third area we looked at was the office building itself. So the office building is the most expensive part of the program. It's a fully custom building. It's gonna house all of our office workers, so it's, there's a lot going on in it. It has, the most finishes, a decent amount of square footage, so it's the most expensive building on a per square foot, dollars per square foot basis. So we wanted to look at that, make sure it was no bigger than we needed it to be. So we, Chris, this is a real screenshot of our GM's handy red pen. So we looked at the floor plan and thought about how big some of the rooms were. So for example, the lobby that was in the design we had been working with was quite a bit bigger than our lobby today. And we sort of thought about that, and, extra lobby space didn't seem like a great value to us. A lobby's important, but 1,000 square feet of lobby, that's not a high on our list of reasons for pursuing this building. So we had some training rooms that we determined that we could use other rooms sort of flexibly to, if we do have training needs, we can use the commission room that we're going to have as part of the building to double as a training room, because of course it's only going to be once a month that it's used for commission meetings. So ideas like that, trying to remove some rooms, shrink some hallways, change the shapes a little bit. It's a lot of, it feels like putting pieces together, and this is what the architects are good at. And yeah, I think we're able to, we're now talking about a 20% square foot reduction overall, which comes with millions of dollars of cost savings, assuming the dollars per square foot figures they've been using as benchmarks, without really any. We don't feel like we're sacrificing much. We had built in a little bit of nice to haves that we can definitely do without having a dedicated training room, for example. There are plenty of other shared spaces in the floor plan that can accomplish that use case of having a group of people sit down and be on their computers to go through a training with NIC, for example. So
If you cut it back 20% now, but you need that in the future, there's enough room, real estate-wise, that you could add on to the building at some later date,
Part of our
40
idea,
years down the road or something?
part of the idea for the whole project is that this building would be big enough no matter what, that we really shouldn't have to expand too much to it, that the expansion would more be garage and warehouse needed.
Yeah.
But we were actually talking about this yesterday, depending on how the floor plan changes, there might be opportunities to do something where you build it. So if you needed to add on another level, if we were only two, or if a little area in the corner, something like that, but it would be small additions, but we're trying to factor all that in. But the goal for the actual building is to have it so we can expand and even have, appropriate personnel growth over the course of however many years. And I really don't see it being an issue unless we really took on a whole new service or change the core of the company somehow to have to add tons of employees.
the most recent floor plan has, so we have the offices sort of counted up, the workspaces, and then all of the shared spaces, they're calling them collaboration spaces, sort of just, think of like, you're walking into like an office building and there's just like a table with some chairs there, like those are the sort of spaces that are sort of gonna be the extra, and those have been, earmarked for future, if we have headcount growth and need some offices, those are spaces that could be converted into offices easily. So we are planning for, those expansion possibilities 10, 20 years down the road.
Now, this is the same office space is also going to be the home for all of the broadband and fiber and everything, right? It's going to be on that, within those 3 floors. I don't see an elevator. There is an elevator. I will make
Yes.
that assumption.
Yeah, this is just a tiny snippet.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yes.
asking stupid questions.
You can kind of see a piece of it.
Okay, and then remember, one of the things that we promised the town was we were gonna help them build for the future, in that come the 2030 census, they're probably gonna have more precincts, and they're gonna need a place to vote.
Oh, right.
So, just hope in the back of your, checklist there, that we're making sure that somehow the first floor, or what accessibility to be able to have voting, and potentially just talking with the town clerk to make sure she's, kind of nods her head that she can fit a precinct in there if she had to, but
Yeah, we've kept that, idea in mind, with having the commission room be one of the most accessible rooms right off the lobby.
Good.
Just on that point, I believe in this plan, I mean, those are pretty amazing red lines, if I say so myself. But the commission room here, just even using known spaces to kind of get our bearings, I believe, you can see the green in the bottom right corner. That's a little piece of it. It was the same size as this room.
Oh, okay.
So, that was the dual purpose, to be a voting location, mirror the same setup, access to SMC, things like that. So, using what we know works today, and then applying it to this building.
So, could I just ask a question following up on Bob's comment? Can you just refresh us? This is obviously replacing Municipal Drive.
Okay.
Will all of Parker Road be decommissioned as well?
So, okay, good question, dovetailing off of the prior question too. Yes, what you don't see on this snippet is the rest of the building, and that's largely hashed out through the next phase, potentially, which is schematic design, but the latest iteration of red lines from Monday. Yes, so in this design is the data center. So that's part of the efficiencies of this project. Our data center is the original one from the 80s when everything started. It's at Parker Road. Obviously, there's the challenges that an aging building bring in that regard. So this project overlaps with that too. So you bring the data center in there, you bring all of your network operations folks, everyone. So really the blanket statement is everyone would migrate to this building. Parker Road can then be retired and reassigned. It wouldn't be immediate. There's a transition period. This is also why this site is ideal, is it's geographically located very similar to Parker Road, so we can migrate our fiber and our infrastructure over to this new building. There's a huge number of technological advancements since the 80s for how that runs, how a data center is cooled. All those get incorporated in here, and the support personnel would be adjacent to it, and in a secured facility.
5 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do that, right? Because we were still operating with sort of the head end of the old, on the old network.
Yes,
right?
with the satellite dish. So
Yeah.
this is the satellite, all these pieces are kind of coming together. The satellites are being retired. All of our upstream providers are delivering over fiber for the most part. There might be a couple left, but you look into the future over the course of this building.
The timing
timeline.
of this project is great, given the rest of the investments
Yes.
made over the last decade.
Exactly.
But to be clear, there will still be a satellite and possibly tower left there that'll be needed for a bit.
Well, there's the radio tower,
Yeah.
in general. There's other uses that are at Parker Road.
Does SMC
Yeah, that's the
remain
question I had,
there?
SMC, are they gonna come with us down to North Quincy?
SMC, we have basically as the potential future use of Parker Road. They've made investments in there.
They would stay there?
They would stay.
They would
They
stay.
have a studio, they have a lot
They have
of
a
They have a
studio.
studio that-
And that frees up that's, at least was my thinking, all of the office space that currently the I'm trying to transition my nomenclature. The data center personnel use, all that can go back to SMC.
And who, do we own Parker Road?
Yes.
We would maintain ownership of that? Is that what-
That could be a future consideration,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, is that, I think that's kind of like the property, just like on Municipal Drive, is that we have it until such time as we give it back to the town. We
Yeah,
don't sell
right,
it, we don't
yes.
own it, we maintain it basically
Yeah.
in perpetuity until at such time
Yeah,
as we
because
don't
that was
own it.
North Shore School there. Yeah,
Right.
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 I have the town meeting vote.
I'm sure they'd want it back.
Does the town have any, thoughts on future use of Municipal Drive?
I think that is nothing definitive.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of ideas.
A lot of ideas, yeah.
It would be used for something. It is a key fueling site, you know, and there's plenty of, I think, very viable use
Wouldn't
cases.
the DPW want that?
DPW, water,
Yeah.
you know, water.
Or
and
Parks and Recs for their
park and rec.
vehicles.
So there's a lot of different ideas, but nothing that's been concluded.
Well, one time you talked about a backup data center.
Yes.
So what happens to that now? It's,
Okay, so there's a slight segue into potentially next month's meeting.
okay.
But then so the idea is in the long-term strategies, you have your primary data center here that's up to modern standards. And then now we add that layer of resiliency and I guess redundancy, if you call it that. But on the opposite side of town, we've been looking to work with the town on the DPW site to potentially locate a backup data center so you have full failover if something catastrophic were to happen to this building or in this side of town, you have a full failover scheme on an opposite side of town. And so that is something we've looked to incorporate in the upcoming budget request for next month.
Just one more quick point to Matthew's question. The space here, we would also be moving out of, which, you know, I think the rest of the town departments in Town Hall also would have some interest in using that wing of Town Hall. So just the third aspect of.
Were we talking about maintaining the kiosk up here or not? I thought we were, but then again, I'm not trying to
Yeah, no, we can, we have that flexibility to do that. Yeah, just to dovetail off of that point too is and something you had said, right, that was the initial, if you remember back to our discussions of that Subaru facility. Part of that process, which isn't lost on this, is through the shuffling of the facilities, you actually end up with savings on the town side because they can use that space and potentially avoid an addition or a smaller addition, not to speak for their needs. But there's cost savings here because they can then leverage this space in the municipal drive space. So we try to do that analysis and how that would play out in efficiencies overall.
And it's even the reason why at Municipal Drive, when we're making certain improvements today to correct things, we're doing it with the understanding of like, okay, let's just not do a pure Band-Aid and try to hold it for, you know, a month or two, but let's do something that's a good solution because this is going to be passed down to the town. An example of this is where, you know, we have to fix the membrane roof over the little bit of the warehouse area we have because the SELCO pool in the warehouse, you know, it isn't that great with all the electronics and whatnot, but you know, instead of just trying to be like, hey, let's throw a throw a tarp over it and cover this. We're actually doing an actual fix for the roof. So this
Up
way,
there this morning, I just drove by. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey."
Oh, yeah.
no, I hope they're doing good work.
Yeah.
But you know, we're trying to make the facility itself, as we're using it, you know, up to our standards and making sure if they're doing stuff like that, we're passing it on. So it's, you know, money well spent than just, hey, let's just try to Band-Aid this and someone else's problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, last slide, Olivia, just wrapping up. So, like I said, this week we are expecting to receive the final polished feasibility study from the designer, and we'll take that and work on for January's meeting with the budget conversation, sort of dovetailing with that, you know, a summary and presenting the question, you know, the facts and the question to the commission of, you know, whether to take that and move on to schematic design, which is, to be clear, is a separate contract that we haven't signed. We'll have I think we'll have the cost proposal from or some sort of proposal from the architect as to, what goes into that. But essentially, it's a decision gate of whether to, continue on with this project that we'll, look for your advice on.
And just to prepare you, it's a long report. The draft we just had was like 900 pages.
Great.
Some
take
light
this.
reading.
We'll take the summary.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the,
that's
fir-
the AI
the
summary.
first 100 or so are what matter.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
How many floors is the building?
3.
3, you said.
3 right now.
And the warehouse and the, well,
Two-
obviously the garage is just one big, right?
Yeah, it's
The
2
warehouse-
stories.
The warehouse.
But it's one open area, one floor, but just a 2-story building, which I've learned through this process, stories is not a standard frame of reference. It can be anywhere from 10 to 15 or 20 feet, something like that. But I believe the height
But there's no
was-
other floor to go on.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just the height of the building.
Oh, okay.
Because like some utilities have like mezzanines in the warehouse, and that would be too custom, and we wouldn't get value out of that.
You don't really use them necessarily for anything other than a junk spot for all the line workers and cable techs to put their old stuff and hang out.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey, how about the IT folks? They're gonna stay here because they support the
They
town?
will come with us, but still have a office here, area here.
So we'll never know where she's at.
That's right.
That's
right. She said,
If we're still having an office here, again, because I'm just concerned with accessibility for people who like come and like pay bills and like, how accessible is it to go to North Quincy as opposed to come into this.
That's why the kiosk. is
So,
there.
so just keep like some sort of presence in this building
Yeah.
to like either drop off things, like,
Mhm.
or pay a
One-stop
bill.
shopping, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. No, we've talked about that. I mean, the logistics, same with the rest of the project, right? That concept is there. We just don't know what it would necessarily look like. Do you station someone, in an existing office location? Do you, what's the future of our existing space? But yes, and certainly, how does that work with rotating personnel, things like that. But yes, the presence, that's easy.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay,
We look
thank
forward
you.
to future updates.
Okay.
Okay. With that said, I think that pretty much ends our open meeting agenda. We do have want to go into, I think you have a proposal for us to go into
Executive session.
the executive session, so do you want to make your proposal and we'll go and do that, or is there anything else we need to discuss in open? I don't think so.
Okay, that's it. It would just be executive session.
happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holiday.
You want-
Same crew, so if you would entertain them staying up here.
No problem.
I believe, that's a roll,
You have to
roll call.
All right, well, so we.
Move to
okay,
adjourn now.
the motion
Oh,
would be,
yes.
yeah, so, we'll do a roll call vote to enter into executive session and to not come back into open session. So, with that motion in front of it, and I'll read what, and I think the requirement, the reason we're going into executive session is that Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 2116, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, 218, 220 North Quinsigamon. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. And so with that, can I have a motion to enter into executive session? For the
Yeah,
purpose.
so move, but do we have to
We'll
move
do
out
a
of
roll call.
general? Do we
Yeah,
have
we'll
to-
close that, well, I'll make a motion, we'll close out from open to go.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, and roll call vote,
Yes.
yes? Maria?
Yes.
Bob Holman, yes?
Yes.
Tony Hinton?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, with that said, the commission will now convene into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 2116, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, 218 to 20 North Quincy. An open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of this public body. Furthermore, the commission will not reconvene in open session. And with that said, the open session is closed, and we thank SMC for their support.